Hello, this is What's All About with another watch review, and in this review we're looking at a Danish brand called About Vintage, hailing from Copenhagen, and this is one of their pretty smart offerings, the 1844 Chronograph. So the price of this is £280, which equates to around about $360. So let's have a look at it in a bit closer detail to see whether it is, a decent watch, good value for money. So let's talk about the specs first. So the dimensions of the watch are as follows. So I have a 7.25-inch wrist for reference. The diameter is 41mm. We have a height of 11mm, and then a lug-to-lug length of 47mm. So for a classy watch, I think it's quite a good size. Many people think around 42mm is too large. So sitting at 41mm, it still offers a nice amount of wrist presence, but it's not, that 1mm makes quite a lot of difference. So I personally think, especially with the bright dial, it really creates quite the impression on your wrist. I think the size is quite good. 11mm is reasonable as well, thanks to the quartz movement inside. So I think the size is pretty good. Weight-wise, it's a weight of 66 grams, so fairly lightweight. Obviously, because it's just a leather strap and it's a quartz movement, we don't have too much weighty items going on with it. So it's fairly comfortable to wear on the wrist. That's coupled by a very comfortable strap as well. But weight-wise, it's nothing too crazy or too heavy. We have a water resistance of 50 meters, so you probably don't want to go swimming or anything in particular with it. But if you do have any accidents, it is covered, which is a good thing. The movement is one that I've not come across before. It's a Miyota 6S11, but in complete honesty, it is basically the same as any other quartz chronograph movement out there. The lug width, we have a 20mm lug width, which tapers down to 18mm at the tang buckle. So that's a very straightforward size, simple decision for the diameter of the case, and they've made a good decision there. We have a 2-year warranty with this watch as well, so you're covered for a good couple of years if anything happens. Okay, so let's take the watch off and have a look at each section in a bit closer detail. So if I just give it a quick wipe. So our dial then, very smart, very classy, very elegant and simple. I think this is one of those kind of moments where you can actually call this a minimalist watch, and it's not labeled put in the same bracket as those minimalist watches such as Daniel Wellington, and all that kind of rubbish. So this design is very elegantly based on a Bauhaus design, I like to think. So it really is simplistically done, but in a very tasteful way. We have very simple print work, nothing supplied on the dial either, so it is quite a flat dial. We also have a nice silvery, ivory, matte kind of finish to the dial itself, but we'll have a look with the macro lens on. But everything, the only applied elements on the entire dial are these little tiny pips at 12, 3, 6 and 9, if you can see them, for our hour markers. So they're literally the only things that are applied. We obviously have a date window at 3 as well. Now, regarding the date window, I do think this is the only thing which lets the dial down, actually. The window itself is cut out very nicely, it has a good border to it, but the wheel, it doesn't quite match up in terms of colour, and then I think that the actual print work of the wheel is a little bit too big as well. It seems to be squished a little bit within the wheel, within the window, so I don't think it quite matches the rest of the dial, which is a shame. But obviously we all appreciate how expensive custom date wheels are. So continuing with the the dial, we have our subdial 12, which is our chronograph seconds hand, chronograph minutes hand, sorry. Our big seconds hand is our chronograph running seconds hand, and then our bottom subdial is just our running seconds hand. As you can see, we have a bit of a sweep to this. So the Miyota 6 S11 is a mecha quartz type of movement. So we have this interesting mechanical kind of sweep for the chronograph. All the print work is really suitable, really fine. We have Copenhagen at the base of the dial, which is in a similar vein to having Swiss made at the bottom. And then I do like a little way we've got the About Vintage logo used for 60 at the top there, and then obviously we have another bit of print work here. Another interesting thing is the way we've got the minute track within, and then the hour markers around the outer side. Usually it's the opposite way around. So I find the minute track sitting inside frames the dial quite nicely. Actually, it doesn't leave masses of open space, so they've thought about that quite well. Moving on to the case then. Fully polished, so it does create a nice impression when you're wearing it. It's actually really well machined as well. We have a domed sapphire crystal sitting on top. You can see it's only a single dome on top though, because you get this distortion. Our case back is nice and detailed as well, with a little cityscape of Copenhagen. Nice bit of detailing around here, and a serial number as well. As you can see, we have a couple of lines that split up the case. We have one surrounding the bezel, and then one which joins up to the bottom case back as well. Pushers are pump style pushers, and they provide a really nice, decent click when you're using them. You can't hear them obviously on this review, but they do create a nice, subtle but reassuring thud-like click, and because of the shape of them, they're really easy to use as well. The crown has the About Vintage logo nicely embossed on the end, and the grip is pretty good as well. It's really easy to use. So moving on to the strap, a very simple black matte strap with black stitching as well. Very nice quality leather. You can see for yourself actually that it does look very soft even to the eye. And then if I just give the buckle a quick wipe, here's the buckle with the About Vintage logo engraved. So let's get the macro lens on and we'll have a look at it in closer detail. So starting off with the dial, just check that's on. Don't think it is. Okay, that's better. So you can see we have this sort of silvery matte kind of champagne pearly kind of colour to it. Very nice. Our print work there is very fine and accurate. Here's one of our, if I give a quick wipe, here's one of our little loom pips, 9, and another one at 12 as well. So our date wheel, as you can see, the wheel itself doesn't quite match up with the colour, and the numbers are just a little bit too big, I find. Moving on to our subdials, again just simple print work really, and a tiny little hand. So the running seconds hand is the only one that's black, all the rest are steel polished. These are quite a nice shape as well, these hands, not pitched, just extremely flat. There we go. And then we have Copenhagen at the foot of the dial. Okay, so moving on to the case, if I just give it all a quick wipe down. So here we have our finishing on our case. Very nice polished edging, good angles as well. Moving on to this side, here's our crown. Good grip, really well manufactured, and a nice little logo engraved on the end as well. And here's one of our pushers, again fully polished, good shape as well. Moving on to the case back, so here we have the detailing on the case back, again very accurate, well designed, well executed as well. We have these details surrounding the outside as well. And then moving on to the strap. Here's the top side of the leather. Bit of stitching there. And here's our print work on the underside, very nice and soft. And then finally, if we just look at the buckle, there's the About Vintage logo. It's fairly straightforward tang buckle, but the About Vintage logo is nice and deeply engraved on it. Okay. So, £280 can be seen as a, if I get that in focus, come on. £280 can be seen as a fairly expensive for a quartz watch. You can get some Swiss-made watches for the same price, but I'm happy to say that the quality is really quite impressive. Everything's really well made, well put together. It's really nicely styled as well, and just the entire package is is a really nice experience. So I have been pretty impressed by the About Vintage 1844 Chrono. When you wear it on the wrist, the quality is evident. It does look really good. I'll just give it a quick wipe again. It's much better than a lot of watches for the same price. So I think realistically the price is accurate. Sure, you probably could find an alternative which is cheaper with similar build quality, but you don't find watches designed in this way so often. In fact, I'm struggling to think of a watch which is in a similar vein to this design. So in that respect, for a truly nice looking minimal quartz chronograph, you're looking at a very good option here. So for £280, the About Vintage 1844 Chrono is a very lovely watch. Okay, so just put it back on for you to have a look at once more. So there we have it. So this was the About Vintage 1844 Chronograph, and that's what it's all about.